So that's what happened today. Thanks so much, SABC reporter Andile Mbanjwa, for the latest in that case. And this, of course, the trial of alleged Cape Town underworld gang bosses. And this is in connection with the murder of Brian Weinstein, who was known as the Steroid King. So that's the latest coming from there. Well, then we have about a minute and a half, actually. And I'm not sure we're going to get much in there, but perhaps we have some voice notes that we can go to. Alternatively, let me see if I can find some messages, because so the one story that we need to get to is obviously going to need a little more time to get into, so we'll park that one down there. Also, some of the other stories that we are keeping an eye on, as we had indicated, after SABC News received a tip-off from a lady named Sonia in Pretoria, who said that her helper's child, who had bought snacks along with two other kids in Mamelodi at a foreign-owned spaza shop, fell ill after consuming those snacks. The children, we were then told, were taken to the Steve Biko Hospital, and they were in critical condition. And unfortunately, at that time, it led to the passing of one of the children. So we do have our reporters on the ground in Mamelodi on that story, but they tell us that unfortunately, the mother has just gone to ground, but they are still in Mamelodi, still trying to trace what exactly happened in that incident. You will hear it in our news bulletin, so we are following up on that. And another interesting one is, of course, what's happening in Mpumalanga, with authorities raising concerns following the discovery of some residents who may have built their houses on top of a gas line from Mozambique. So that a very worrying concern, but we'll certainly follow up on those stories tomorrow, because right now we are out of time. Thanks so much to the production team, and of course to everyone who tuned in this afternoon. Right now, here's your latest news at 1 with Ondelambana.
Thank you, Sakina, and your team. Top stories at 1. More jobs created in the third quarter, and Mayiwa accused released from solitary confinement. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good day. The unemployment rate has decreased to 32.1% in the third quarter of 2024 from 33.5% in the second quarter. According to Statistics South Africa, the number of discouraged work seekers increased by 160,000, and the number of people who were not economically active for reasons other than discouragement increased by 54,000 between the two quarters. Notando Magudulela reports.
According to Stats SA Quarterly Labour Force Survey Q3, a total of 214,000 people were found to be not economically active. Meanwhile, there were employment gains in the same period in the formal and informal sector, as well as the agricultural sector. Notando Makutulela, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The Minister of Water and Sanitation, Phemi Majodina, has assured South Africans that there is enough water in the country, with localized deficits in some areas. She was speaking in the National Assembly on the water security in the country. A number of municipalities across the country are struggling to provide clean running water, with municipalities in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal being singled out. Majodina says the source is sufficient as long as it is used sparingly.
I want to assure South Africans and the citizens of this country that we have enough water. Water availability in South Africa could deteriorate rapidly as supply contracts and demands escalates due to economic growth, population growth, urbanization, inefficient use, including increasing physical losses in municipal distribution systems, degradation of wetlands, and the impacts of climate change, as well as heat wave.
4 vehicles, including 3 belonging to Joburg Water, have been damaged after residents pelted them with stones. This after protests against an operation to disconnect illegal water connections around Lenasia, south of Johannesburg. Joburg Metro Police officers had to fire rubber bullets to try and disperse the volatile crowds. The operation has since been stopped. JMPD spokesperson Xolani Fihla says several routes are closed to traffic.
Motorists are advised to be aware of a closure on Golden Highway between Wimbledon and Sheffield Street in Lenasia South and Univille due to ongoing protest action. The roads have been barricaded by residents in response to an illegal water connection operation.
Judge Jan Swanepoel has ruled in the High Court in Pretoria that accused number 3 in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial should be released from solitary confinement. Mtabisi Mncube and accused number 5, Fisokuhle Ntuli, made an urgent application complaining about conditions at the Jose Mamburu Correctional Center. The two stated that the conditions infringe on their human rights and mental well-being. Mncube has been in solitary confinement for the past 4 years. International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamola hopes the SADC urgent meeting this week will be able to resolve the unrest in Mozambique. This after opposition rejects the elections results in that country that were held on the 9th of October. Frelimo presidential candidate Daniel Chapo won 70% of the votes. Lamola says the protests are affecting the economy of both Mozambique and South Africa. Addressing the media in Pretoria, Lamola says they will continue to call for calm.
The call by the leader of those who are contesting elections in Mozambique for a fourth phase protest, we will continue to call for calm as South Africa to that whatever protest must happen within the ambit of the law without destruction of property, and we do the same with regards to law enforcement even in Mozambique.
Recapping the top story, the unemployment rate has decreased to 2.1% in the third quarter of 2024 from 33.5% in the second quarter. I am Ondalambana for SAFM News. Headlines at 1:30.
South Africa and India will produce hot performances as they both want to triumph during their third T20 contest. The visitors want victory to ensure a joyful tour, but hosts Mzansi refuse to fold their arms. What a summer without cricket! Catch the heated third T20 international action between South Africa and India on Wednesday, 13 November at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and 4 p.m. on Radio 2000. With reports on various SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom, reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
akuthethwa ngabantu besithi hayi kunzima wena uzuthi hayi ndithandwa uzuthi ndithandiwe ndinika indawo enhlizweni ndinika indawo ndoyigcina bamoshile amatu ngiyaqonda badlalile amatu ngiyaqonda ndinika indawo ndoyigcina ndinika indawo enhlizweni
It is Giselle Brothers. Ndinigindawo is the name of the song, and that is how we kick off the show today and say hello to you. I hope you're having a good day. I know this part of the world, we woke up, fell asleep to some rain and woke up to some rain, which is a wonderful thing. And it's just enough that it's managed to cool off Johannesburg for us. So it is indeed most welcome. I hope that on your side of the world as well, you are experiencing beautiful weather, whether it be sunny, whether it be raining. Hopefully it's just the right amount that you have been longing for. It's just gone 10 past 1 o'clock. And we are getting ready for conversations on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. So we're going to be looking at this world record attempt, which is an initiative to fight gender-based violence. And we're going to be in conversation with Women Empowered founder in just a bit. We're also going to delve into some stages, pages, screens, and more. There's a Sobukwe-inspired play that seeks to introduce us to the legendary PAC founder through some love letters that he'd written to his wife, Veronica. So we'll have the playwright coming through to tell us more about, just the journey and, of course, the inspiration that came from some of those letters. We were looking at a conversation around diabetes as well. It remains an escalating public health crisis in South Africa, and so we'll touch base around that. And on the other side of 2 o'clock, because it is Tuesday, we still continue with our health and wellness theme, standing versus sitting. So there's some new research that we're going to unpack that challenges some common health beliefs, and we'll be touching base with a senior lecturer from the University of Witwatersrand around that. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. And of course, 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on. Here's the question for you, and it ties into our first conversation. So how do you feel about education? Education as a tool when it comes to imparting some wisdom and knowledge around consent, respect, and boundaries in preventing GBV? Should we be doing more around educating our young people, both within the formal structures of education as well as within just our social settings as well, where we do quite a bit? Socialization is just one of the 4 pillars of how we as human beings develop and how we learn, extract and engage in knowledge amongst ourselves. So do you feel that there's a role, and there should be a bigger role in as far as education is concerned when it comes to conversations around consent, respect and boundaries, particularly as it pertains to gender-based violence? And should these be conversations that we're starting very early on within the context of our households and communities? Is this conversations that we should be having with our kids as soon as we possibly can? 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. We'd love to hear your perspective on that. And 086-000-2032 is the number that you can call us on.
What a day. Time for that face mask. Leave the face mask on for 2 minutes. 2 minutes? That's not even enough time for it to work. I can't even send an email in 2 minutes or make a cup of coffee.
With Santam, 2 minutes is enough to insure your car online. When you're fully protected with the expert insurer, you're free to live in the moment, not in the worry. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
For 120 years, Rhodes University has shaped history. From Sir George Corey's pioneering 62 conversations capturing the early history of the Eastern Cape, to the first email to be sent in South Africa, and now leading the way in nanotechnology. Rhodes University is more than an educational institution. We are a legacy in motion. Be part of the evolving legacy. Rhodes University, where leaders learn.
The SAFM playwriting competition is back. After receiving hundreds of entries last year from South African writers of different ages and ethnic groups sharing their stories, now the time is yours. It's your story. You decide. SAFM invites all writers to explore the medium of sound, the theatre of the mind, and to create a 1-hour radio play in English. Get writing now and submit your play before the 3rd of February 2025 for a chance to win one of 3 large cash prizes. For more information, visit safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, as we get into our first conversation, our WhatsApps are open on 061-410-4107, and of course our phone lines as well on 086-000-2032. How do you feel about the role of education when it comes to consent, respect, and teaching boundaries in preventing GBV? And do you think that perhaps these are conversations and lessons that we should be starting quite early on, especially with younger folks within our society? And when we talk about education around themes of consent, respect, and boundaries, not just in the formal schooling sector, but also within our communities and our households where a lot of socialization happen, should we be having these conversations early on? And how early is early? 10, 12, 13? Do you wait for the question to be asked, or do you prompt the question yourself over dinner, or perhaps a casual Saturday afternoon while having some family viewing? Would love to hear your thoughts on it as a mom, a dad, an aunt, an uncle, an observer. 061-410-4107 is our WhatsApp line. Catching up with us now, Mark Khobla, who is the founder of Women Empowered, and in an inspiring effort to combat gender-based violence, Pretoria is going to host a record-breaking event come the 21st of November at Sunbet Arena, where there's going to be an attempt to have the world's largest simultaneous board break to raise awareness and funds for self-defense programs. And firstly, I want to know what's a board break. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm very, very well in you, Bridget. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much, and thank you for the time. We'll double back to, what is a simultaneous board break, but perhaps let's get some context around the work that you do through your organization, Women Empowered, and the communities in which you work.
Bridget, I started Empowered close on 12 years ago. I don't know if you remember Alison's story. She was abducted in Port Elizabeth about 30 years ago by two men. They brutally raped her, slit her throat, disemboweled her, and left her for dead. Alison's my friend. I wrote a thesis for my 5th Dan grading on self-defense for women, and hence Empowered was born. So what we do is we offer a program, much like you would teach someone a first aid course. If I were to say to you, Bridget, do you think self-defense is important? You would say, yes, I'm sure. And then my next question to you would be, are you taking regular classes? And then I'm sure you would say no.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that there's too much, let's just say, self-defense courses out there that'll never work, because most self-defense needs to be practiced daily. I mean, you're teaching self-defense as if it was a martial art, and a martial art is a lifelong pursuit, and our approach is somewhat different. We offer a 2-hour program that has a theory and a practical component, and our approach is that we teach personal protection the way you would teach a first aid course. If I were to say to you, do you think it's worthwhile doing a first aid course? I'm sure you'd say yes, and I'm sure most people would be prepared to go and do a first aid course, because you don't need to commit to sort of years of your life to doing it. A first aid course is not going to make you a surgeon or a doctor, of course, but it's going to give you an option. It's going to give you an option. It's going to give you something that could help you in a life or death situation. So that's sort of where we position ourselves. I like to call it the niche between ninja and nothing. So I think everybody wants to be a ninja, but not everybody wants to do what it takes to become a ninja. And then there's people that know nothing when it comes to personal protection or self-defense. And we like to say we like to work in between those two. So it's about giving people skills and knowledge. We like to call it the gift of forever knowledge. Once you've been through our program, you'll have something that nobody can ever take away from you.
Mark, I just want us to quickly switch a line there. We're just getting some weird reverb. So while we switch the line, we're going to take a quick break. But our WhatsApp and, of course, our phone lines are open if you are listening. 061-410-4107 and 086-000-2032 is the number that you can give us a call in. And, of course, the question to you is, how do you feel about education when it comes to conversations around consent, respect, and boundaries in preventing gender-based violence? And should you think we should be starting early with these lessons at the formal education sectors, through school? Should these be conversations that are held earlier on? And what is earlier on, in your opinion? Are we talking grade 7? Are we talking grade 8? Are we talking grade 6 or grade 5? And within the context of the household as well, how early are you having these conversations with the young members of your household, boy and girls alike? Are you even indulging conversations around consent, respect, and boundaries? It's just gone 20 past 1 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, right here on SAFM.
Night Talk, Monday to Thursdays, 10 to midnight.
Is there a general culture that encourages police officers to seek mental health support in the police, or does it get to really dire circumstances before they seek such support and services?
I think it's what we are raising, that it should be made mandatory that each member who has been exposed to a traumatic situation must be subjected for observation. Remember,
does that currently not happen? Yes. Is that currently not the case?
It's not the case. It's optional. It depends how the member feels. It depends what others see on a member. The member goes on shootout, they go on robberies, very traumatic accidents, no one take care of them.
Tulani Nsele is with Pop Crew.
This is Oliver Dixon on SAFM. All podcasts can be downloaded on safm.co.za. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
And we have some great conversations on our podcast, by the way. So if you miss anything at all, you just go down there and scroll through, and then you're generally able to pick it up either by way of the tagline or by way of the guest. Mark Khobla joins us now, founder of Women Empowered. So, Mark, let's talk quickly about, just how beneficial self-defense is as a tactic for most people who've either gone through your courses or gone through other courses, and who've come back, and what have they said? Do they feel more empowered, more ready? Have they had a need to even use the skills that they've picked up from some of the self-defense coursing and training?
Thanks, Bridget. Yes, we've had 11,000 people through our program, and I'm glad you used the word self-defense, because as I said earlier, I believe our comments weren't that clear, but we don't see ourselves as doing self-defense as opposed to personal protection. So yes, we've had 11,000 people through the program, numerous people coming back and saying, I'm not scared anymore, Mark. I have an option. I know what I'm capable of. I think the most publicized person that had been through our program was Miss Universe 2017, Miss South Africa and Miss Universe 2017, who went through the program, and there was an attempted hijacking 2 weeks after she was crowned Miss South Africa, and basically went on record to say that the knowledge that she had got in the program probably saved her life. Now, there's not a lot of people that have come back to us and said, listen, they've gone through with the full physical technique, which Demi did. But I like to think that because you're not getting, because a lot of people are not getting back and say, listen, I've done this and I've done that, the information that is shared in the program, a lot of it basically gives you some knowledge around preventing these type of situations. If you know some knowledge or you know some rules, you can avoid getting into most situations. I mean, one of the things I always say, now, if I were to put a gun against your head and take you and say to you, come with me, are you going to come with me?
I mean, listen, I have no idea what my natural response would be, and often I remark, even in boxing, just this morning at my boxing training with undefeated boxing champs, I said to them, if you had to put me in a ring with somebody, or if I was forced to fight on the streets, I'd probably forget everything that I learn here every day.
So, I mean, that's so true, and it's really what puts what we do in a different space. People or systems that are teaching multiple techniques, multiple scenarios, multiple targets, multiple, and trying to cram that into a self-defense course, it's never going to work, because if you're not going to practice it rigorously, it's not going to work. Our approach is very, very different. We believe on a couple of philosophies. The one is, whatever you do to a wannabe attacker, or whatever you want to call it, that does not incapacitate, will infuriate. So, to my previous point, and as you said, you don't know what you would do under situations, so you need a set of rules. Now, one of the very important piece of information that comes out of our program is one of our rules, and that rule is don't go to the second place. Now, a lot of people, most people, when I ask, say, if somebody puts a gun against your head and wants to take you somewhere else, are you going to go? And they say, yes, of course, they've got a gun. And then I say to them, but when you go to the second place, do things get better? And they say, of course not. Well, I said, well, then why do you want to go? And they said, because you've got a gun. Now, the reality is your chances of survival at the first place are 93%. When you go with me to the second place, they are less than 35. When you go with me, you can see so knowing just a little piece of information like that can change a whole outcome. And that's something that Demi relied on in her attempted hijacking. She knew she went to the second place, things would get bad. So it's about information. It's obviously about a physical skill that we teach, but we don't flood the course with techniques and options and stuff. That's the realm for people that want to learn a martial art, that want to train every day. But for average Joe and average Sue, they just want to know something. Something that they don't need to go and practice every day.
Got you. Now, let's talk about this event. So on the 21st of November at Sunbet Arena, and you're attempting the world's largest simultaneous board break.
Correct.
Okay, board break. What are we talking here? Jet Li style?
We're talking about a wooden board
Mm-hmm.
that's 20 mil thick. So basically what happens at the end of our program, Bridget, is that everybody punches through a wooden board.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to show you that wooden board and say, do you think you can punch through this? You're going to say to me, Mark, you're insane. It's impossible. It can't be done. And I always follow that on with, if you don't think you can, you can't. Now, in a life or death situation, thinking is not enough. You need to know. You need to have a reference point that you can physically do something. So at the end of our program, everybody punches through a wooden board, and it's a very cathartic experience. It's about breaking through barriers. It's about proving to you that you can do something that you thought was impossible. And for the longest time, I've had this dream, I suppose you can say, about an event like this. So I approached Sun International a little while ago, and the idea I put to them was the biggest simultaneous board break. In other words, a whole bunch of people breaking a board at the same time that I could find was around about 400 people. So on the 21st of November, we're going to attempt to break the world record. We're still in the process of selling tickets. So a big appeal to all your listeners out there to support the event. Buy tickets and come and join us on the day. You don't have to be a martial artist. You don't have to be sort of a super athlete. Anybody can go through the program, and anybody can break a board.
Awesome.
And the idea is then to give yourself the knowledge, the belief. Nobody can ever say to you, you didn't do it. You'll never forget that you did it, how you did it, and why you did it.
Got you. Mark, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time. Mark is the founder of Woman Empowered, and that event is happening at Sunbet Arena come the 21st of November, and all proceeds will go towards benefiting Empowered and supporting the training of 10,000 women in 2025, as you heard Mark say. Sorry?
I just want to jump in and say tickets are available at ticketpro.co.za. So anybody out there that's listening to this, you can go to ticketpro.co.za,
Awesome.
look for the big break, and you can purchase a ticket.
Wonderful. Makhobla, have yourself a stellar day. It's just gone 1:30. It's time to catch up with Ondela and the headline news.
Bridget, news headlines at 1:30. The unemployment rate has decreased to 32.1% in the third quarter of 2024 from 33.5% in the second quarter. The situation remains tense in Indonesia, south of Johannesburg, following a standoff between residents and Johannesburg Metro Police officials. And International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamula says President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed Ibrahim Rasool as ambassador to the United States. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Hello, Bridget, and your guests. I wouldn't agree more about having, and also the Department of Education prioritizing educating the young ones, especially at early stages, because I feel like when we sometimes delay that education, and in rural areas as well, because of the tradition and the cultural values, there are also misconceptions that you will be encouraging early sexual activity and so on. I disagree, because if boundaries are taught at a very young age, I think also it will help in terms of sexual abuse for young children. So for me, I would say that is the most important, priority that the Department of Education should look into as well. Thank you. This is Tepiso.
Thank you, Tepiso. Yeah, I also feel like, I feel we can begin introducing certain themes into the household at various stages. I feel like the theme of consent, for instance, is one that even a preschooler can grasp. If you use the correct kind of words, and you break down the sentences into the simplest you can find, even a preschooler can understand the concept of consenting. You know what I mean? You can, I think you can even go online and find resources that perhaps where you use things that are real and true to their world, like taking someone's toy without asking them, without getting their permission. Speaks to consent, whether or not that person gave you the permission to do it. And then obviously the older the child becomes, you start sort of honing these themes and making them more direct around matters of sexual conduct, matters of gender-based violence, and issues like that, so that it's not a foreign thing when suddenly you have an 18-year-old girl or boy and now you're trying to have this conversation, and by then they've already been socialized by their peers. They've already extracted all the wrong information, the unfiltered information from their peers and from whatever entertainment that they consume, and it becomes difficult for you to then start weeding through what is the correct and incorrect, of matters of respect and consent and gender-based violence and all these things. So we'd love to hear from you on 061 4104107 is our WhatsApp line. That question that we're just throwing out for you, just to gauge your perspective as an adult, perhaps a parent or a guardian, an aunt, an uncle, or even an older sibling. What do you think the role of education, and how important is the role of education in conversations around consent, respect, boundaries, matters of GBV? And it's not just the schooling thing, right? When we talk the role of education, we're not just directing it at the formal education sector, so the things that they are taught at school only, as much as it's important, those principles and fundamentals that they are taught in school, but they need to be reinforced in the home and in the household. So education broadly, from the formal to the informal, what you teach your kids and the conversations you have with your kids around boundaries, respect, and consent is also just as equally important as what is reinforced and taught in school as well. And how early do you think those conversations should be happening? How early would you like them to happen as a parent, or how early would you be comfortable with them happening as a parent? 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line, and of course you can call us as well. We'd love to hear firsthand from you.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Did you know the Freight Logistics Roadmap, developed by the Department of Transport in collaboration with Operation Vulindlela and approved by Cabinet in 2023, is a blueprint to tackle the crisis that plagues the logistics sector? It sets out an evidence-based path for reforms to allow economic growth and transformation. It promotes a seamless and cost-effective system, a modernized rail system towards the creation of jobs and effective infrastructure investment in both rail and ports. In cooperation with the National Logistics Crisis Committee, a coherent and integrated response to the logistics crisis is certain.
Brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom. Reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Stages, pages, screens, and more with Bridget Masinga.
As we continue with our conversations, but our lines are still open if you'd like to share your opinion and, of course, your perspective or preference around that conversation on boundaries, respect, as well as consent. Right now, though, we are in conversation with Pulane Rampoane, who plays the role of Robert Sibukwe's wife, Veronica Sibukwe, in this new play that's to be staged at the Market Theatre and is running at the Market until the 8th of December. Lala Ngenxeba of Love and Revolution. And it aims to introduce audiences to the life and times of the former PAC leader through some critical historical moments. How are you doing this afternoon, Pulane? Are you good?
I'm good, thank you, Bridget. How are you doing?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much for taking our call. A brand new piece of theatre, this one, from what I understand. And
Yes,
give us
it
the sort of the playwright's motivation and inspiration behind producing this body of work.
You know what, there's something I actually like that he said in one of the interviews he wrote. He said, of course, this is a play. You're coming to watch a play about history. So you're not coming like it's a history lesson. Because also, if you remember, they tried so hard to bury Sobukwe and his history and his impact in South Africa. So he says he wrote this with the intention that the actors will help the audience to interrogate the story of Date Sobukwe and how he impacted everything with love, leading with love.
And it's always an interesting angle for me, right? When we tell historical stories and we center them around themes of love and and love and sacrifice, because I think oftentimes we forget that the heroes of our liberation and the heroes and heroines of our struggles, first and foremost, before they became iconic figures in history pages, were sons and daughters and husbands and wives and fathers and mothers, before they ever became the people that we know them as being.
Definitely. We tend to forget that because obviously there's this thing of taking people like celebrities, and I'm saying celebrity very loosely, and we place them on this pedestal and expect them to be what we want, what we wish, but we don't see them as people. I think this is why when you look at our society now, instead of celebrating the people that we're calling celebrities, we judge, we expect so much from them without thinking that just like us, they're people, they've got families, they've got other things, they've got kids. So it's I don't actually even like that thing of looking at celebrities or politicians like that. They were people. Mama, Mandela, and Mam Zondeni, Date Sobukwe, Chris Hani, all of them, as you say, they were people's sons and daughters and fathers and uncles, before anything else.
Absolutely, absolutely. What do we know? What do you know in preparation for this new play, Lala Ngenxeba of Love and Revolution? Because as I alluded, it is a play that introduces us, the audience, to Robert Sibukwe's life and, of course, his life and times as a PAC leader, but done so through the very intimate exchange between himself and his wife, Veronica, who you are playing. What do we know about, those letters and what was contained in those letters?
So far, actually, there are a lot of letters from Date Sobukwe himself to his wife, but there aren't any from Mam Zondeni herself. So what we find out from who Mam Zondeni was to him through love is how he answers back to her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as I said at the beginning of this interview, that there's a lot about the Sobukwe that has been hidden and kept away from the public and from Africans as a whole.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there was no letters. Do we know? Has the playwright in preparation, Monageng, said anything about whether or not there were ever any archived letters that they've come across from Mam Zondeni?
He had to imagine who Mam Zondeni could have been without finding some of those letters. He had to listen to interviews. He had to listen to her. He had to ask family, but he also had to go through the letters that Utata Sobukwe wrote himself to understand who she was. Because for some reason, the letters that she herself wrote to her husband are missing. They are missing.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And also, but then I guess on the other side, if we are to understand the context, perhaps the reason the letters would have been written in separation, in moments of separation. And Robert Sobukwe has spent a lot of time imprisoned, a lot of time, as a political domestic exile and so on. And so I guess a lot of those letters would have somehow ended up, perhaps even, if we are to infer why they are missing, would have ended up in the hands of authority, would have ended up being discarded, being destroyed, being burnt, and so probably missing from the archives of history.
Yes, also you have to understand that she was on the outside, he was on the inside, and they were trying to keep everything away from him. So I'm just sensing that everything that she had written, trying to tell him about everything that's happening, how the government is doing things, what the party is doing, what Upoto as a movement is doing, they probably decided they're not going to give him the letters. They will keep him there in isolation, and they will make sure he knows nothing. Yeah.
And how did that sort of work for you as a performer? Where do you then draw the reference of Mam Zondeni Veronica Sobukwe?
So, luckily, being an actress, you are, able, or rather, you are allowed to dream a little bit. So, I took from what Vice Monageng, the writer, wrote. I also took from what my director, Upalesa Mazamisa, has built around the character. And I also did my own research to read up, to watch some of the stuff and how people speak about her, and try to imagine, to try and bring this woman to life. Yes.
Some of does the play sort of also anchor or center itself around pivotal events in history?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it anchor and center itself around pivotal events in Sobukwe's history?
Are you referring to the play?
The play, yes.
Yes. You have to understand that the play is taken from the real life events actually that happened in Sobukwe's life. So he wrote it as a way of knowing other parts of him that people didn't know about him, but still, anchoring them around the struggle and everything that was happening at that time during the 60s.
I mean, listen, this sounds like quite the journey down a painful but endearing history, because I think on the one part, having to relive events around the Sharpeville massacre, for instance, or the various moments of imprisonment for Sobukwe himself, but also on the other end, getting to experience the tenderness and perhaps even that intimacy that we would not have been privy to, through his letters, having to hear with his own words, or the interpretation of his own words, what might have motivated or inspired him, or what might have caused him nights of anxiety, especially in relation to the circumstances that then would surround his family and those that he himself would personally want to protect from what was happening.
Yes. And actually the other thing is his wife was going through so much. I mean, obviously, like any woman in waiting, that's just sitting there, she's stressed. She always needs to be traveling between different places. They change prisons. Today he's on Robben Island, the other day he's at a different place. She needs to keep traveling, to just also go there and give him like this thing to say, don't give up, I'm still here with you. The kids are still doing well, you know. So I feel like even for us as actors, even for us as South Africans, this is a moment to go down history lesson. Those that didn't know much about Sobukwe or that thought they knew a little bit about Sobukwe here and there. This is like a little bit more of getting into his head, into his heart. Hence the place says Lala Ngeneba, because he believed in that so much.
Yeah.
That he actually wrote a novel about it to say, you need to sleep on that wound. Sleep on it until it heals.
Absolutely. Pulane Rambwane, thank you so much for the time. And Pulane plays the role of Robert Sobukwe's wife, Zondeni Veronica Sobukwe, in this new piece, Lala Ngenxeba of Love and Revolution, and it's on at the Market Theatre until the 8th of December. And in fact, it's closing the week of Sobukwe's birthday. We're going to take a quick pause, and then we're going to come back and get into our next conversation.
The South African government has implemented economic reforms to address challenges in energy, logistics, and the visa regime. The national rail policy is aimed at modernizing the rail sector, and the reduction of water use license backlogs has attracted 24.4 billion rands in investment. The recently gazetted visa system regime will attract critical skills and investment whilst boosting tourism to ignite the economy and enable job creation. These reforms demonstrate considerable progress in transforming South Africa's economy and addressing the binding constraints on growth. Building and transforming the economy. A message brought to you by Government Communications.
Specsavers now looks after your hearing as well as your vision with Specsavers Audiology. With 60 stores and counting, we are South Africa's largest audiology group. For a limited time only, buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. You heard right. Buy one rechargeable hearing aid and get 50% off the second. Find your nearest store at specsavers.co.za. Specsavers Audiology. Test your hearing and join the conversation. T's and C's apply.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
So diabetes is an escalating public health crisis in South Africa, and we're catching up with Dr. Patrick Ngasa Pioti, who's the chairperson of the South African Diabetes Alliance and co-founder of the University of Pretoria's Diabetes Research Center. World Diabetes Day is on the 14th of November each year, and its primary focus is, of course, on global awareness around all issues of diabetes. Dr. Patrick, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, Bridget. I'm good, and you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Let's talk about, firstly, I guess, the importance of World Diabetes Day, which is happening in a matter of 2 days.
Yes, indeed. World Diabetes Day, which we commemorate usually on the 14th of November, as you rightly says, is an opportunity to really raise awareness globally around diabetes and related issues. So usually we have the International Diabetes Federation that choose a team that to rally the forces around diabetes from all advocacy community. And for this year, we have a team that is on diabetes and well-being.
What are we not getting correct? Because the other thing that one reads is that even against, the odds, despite the high burden on the healthcare resources, there's still numerous cases of diabetes that go undiagnosed and untreated. So what are we not getting correct in as far as diabetes awareness and treatment goes?
Well, thank you for the question, Bridget. Indeed, despite all the effort of the Department of Health at the moment, we are still sitting with an increasing prevalence of diabetes, meaning we have many cases diagnosed every day. Yes, unfortunately, half of the people who are said to have diabetes are undiagnosed or unknown, because diabetes is described as a silent disease. Many people can have symptoms that they are unaware of and live with the condition for many, many years. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, we have a condition that is very complex. And despite the effort of the Department of Health, we are struggling to handle or to manage the condition optimally. As a result, we have high levels of complication. We still have many people who get amputated because of diabetes, who are losing sight because of diabetes, who have the kidneys damaged because of diabetes. And all those complications could have been prevented if they were receiving adequate care.
Yeah. So what do we need to do, Doc? Amongst yourselves and your colleagues at the Diabetes Research Center, what have been sort of the key takeaway points in as far as addressing some of those gaps and some of those systemic challenges in order to turn the curb on diabetes?
Thank you for the question. We will have to zoom in and be a bit more specific. When it comes to managing a person living with diabetes or to managing diabetes, there are many aspects to it. But unfortunately, for the longest time, we have just been focusing on glucose control, or what you call sugar control. Because when the person living with diabetes will get to the facility, they get usually a finger prick test, and based on whether the glucose is high or low, they get scolded by the nurses or the doctors, and that is about it. Unfortunately, diabetes management should be more than that. Not only we need to consider sugar control, but there is often hypertension and also the kidneys that can be affected. Therefore, there are tests that need to happen. There are the lipids that should be checked in every year, meaning in case there is high levels of lipids that need to be addressed. Beyond that, there is now what you call prevention of complications. For example, people need to have their feet checked when they go to the facility. That's not happening. They need to have their eyes checked when they go to the facility. That's not happening. On top of that, as you can see, because of the theme of the year, we are really trying to emphasize on mental health. A person living with diabetes is not only dealing with the challenges that are associated with living with such a condition, but also have the normal challenges of life. But unfortunately, the aspect that is impacted by diabetes is not considered or is not looked into when they go to the facility. Very seldomly it happens that they've been asked, how are they doing? Are you coping at home? Is there anything else that bothers you besides your glucose? Or is this a focus so much on glucose that we forget sometimes that we are sitting in front of a human being that's dealing with many other challenges that could be affecting their condition? As a result, research has shown that depression is twice higher among people living with diabetes compared to the normal population. They are also exposed to high level of anxieties and other health issues, for example, disorders, eating, and so on and so forth. Therefore, in order to achieve good treatment of the condition which is diabetes, we need to consider the mental health aspect. How is the person coping? Are they equipped with coping mechanisms to be able to live healthier lives with their condition, and so on and so forth?
Yeah. Why is it that South Africa seems to have the highest prevalence of diabetes in Africa? What are the differentiating factors here in the southernmost tip?
Thank you for the question. The first disclosure that we might make is that this statistic could be just because in other countries that are maybe less developed than South Africa on the continent, they don't have mechanism to assess or to measure the level of burden of diabetes that they have. Nonetheless, what we know is that South Africa has very, very, very high level of obesity. For example, among women, it's about 60% overweight or obese. Among men, it's about 38%, meaning almost 40%. So because of those high level of obesity being a very is critical risk factor for diabetes, we could explain those statistics. Obviously, due to urbanization, due to people migrating from rural areas to urban areas in the search of employment or others, people are adapting unhealthy lifestyle. We tend to move less, we tend to eat very badly because of limited availability or the difficulty to access healthy food options. So that kind of cocktail leads to South Africa having high level of diabetes.
Yeah. Part of the report also, you recommend that there should be professional nurses that specialize as diabetes nurse educators. This seems like something that in a country where diabetes is the number one killer should be a no-brainer in the health sector.
Indeed, Bridget, I would have to agree with you. Considering the efforts that we put in place when we were faced with HIV, where we had to introduce HIV counselors, we had to introduce specialist nurse focusing on HIV as well as doctors. We really had a lot of measures implemented to respond to it. Unfortunately, we are not seeing the same reaction when it comes to diabetes. We do believe that education or the lack thereof is a critical aspect in us achieving treatment outcome for people with diabetes, because this is a disease that one lives with it forever. Therefore, we cannot rely on limited time that they have with the doctor or the nurse to manage this condition. The person living with diabetes needs to be empowered, needs to be educated, needs to receive all those skills that they need to make the decisions that they need to make on a daily basis in terms of what to eat, when to eat, how to inject your insulin, when to take your treatment, what to avoid, what to do. There are so many things that they have to deal with. So therefore, we believe that education is critical. As the health system is at the moment, the doctors don't have time, the nurses don't have time to train the patient. Therefore, we believe that introducing diabetes nurse educator can be a game changer in ensuring that our people living with diabetes are empowered and are able to take ownership of their own condition.
Absolutely. Dr. Patrick, we have to leave it there for this afternoon, but we appreciate the time. That was Dr. Patrick Ngasa Pioti, chairperson of the South African Diabetes Alliance and co-founder of the University of Pretoria's Diabetes Research Center. It is 2 o'clock. Ondela is standing by with the news.
Thank you, Bridget. Top stories at 2. More jobs created in the third quarter, and Ibrahim Rasool appointed South Africa's ambassador to the U.S. For SAFM News, I am Ondalambana, and a very good day. The unemployment rate has decreased to 32.1% in the third quarter of 2024 from 33.5% in the second quarter. According to Statistics South Africa, the number of discouraged work seekers increased by 160,000, and the number of people who were not economically active for reasons other than discouragement increased by 54,000 between the two quarters. Notando Magudulela reports.
According to Stats SA Quarterly Labour Force Survey Q3, a total of 214,000 people were found to be not economically active. Meanwhile, there were employment gains in the same period in the formal and informal sector as well as the agricultural sector. Notando Makutulela, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Water and Sanitation Minister Phemi Majodina has called on South Africans to change their behavior regarding water usage. She was speaking in the National Assembly, making a statement on water security in the country. A number of municipalities across the country are struggling to provide clean water. Majodina says while an average of 40% of clean water is lost through leaks and infrastructure, its consumption by the country's citizens is among the highest in the world.
South Africans need to change their behavior and treat water like it is a scarce resource that we have. This means that municipalities must fix leaks in their water distribution system. We cannot afford to be throwing away almost half of the water that is supplied to municipalities through leaks. We ourselves who are over-consuming water. We're using 218 per capita per day as against the international standard and norm, which is 173.
The situation remains tense in Lenasia, south of Johannesburg, following a standoff between residents and Johannesburg Metro Police officials. Joburg water officials were conducting an operation to disconnect illegal water connections in the Pumla-Mqashi area in Lenasia, and a protest ensued. As a result, 4 vehicles were damaged by the protesting residents. Joburg Water has since abandoned the operation. JMPD spokesperson Olani Fihla.
During the operation, the team was met with hostility and pelted with stones, resulting in damage to 3 Joburg Water vehicles and 1 security vehicle. JMPD officers used rubber bullets to disperse the volatile crowd, and the operation was subsequently halted. A case of public violence will be opened. As Golden Highway is currently blocked to traffic, motorists are advised to exercise caution and consider using alternative routes.
The trial of alleged underworld bosses Jerome Boyson, Andre Naudé and 13 others has been postponed to the next Monday in the High Court in Cape Town. This after Naudé, who is accused number 3, is recovering from illness. He was due to attend trial yesterday, but his lawyer told the court that her client was hospitalized. Andile Mbanjwa reports.
The men are accused of the murder of steroid smuggler Brian Weinstein. He was shot dead in Constantia in 2017. Naudé's lawyer, Amanda Nell, told the court that her client will attend proceedings next week. The state did not oppose the defense request for the postponement. The court has also ordered the state to provide a report on why the key witness, known as Mr. X, is unfit to testify until the 2nd of next month. That's according to a psychiatric report. He will undergo a further evaluation from mental experts. The matter was also postponed last week after accused number 1, Mark Liffman, was shot dead in George.
International Relations and Cooperation Minister Ronald Lamula says President Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed Ibrahim Rasool as ambassador to the United States. Rasool was an ambassador to the U.S. from 2010 to 2015. Lamula says Pretoria aims to strengthen its relations with Washington, D.C. In his address to the meet in Pretoria, Lamula says he went to America before elections in that country and discussed various issues between the two countries.
We think that the challenges we will be able to confront, engage, and find a mutual beneficial solution between the two countries as we move forward, particularly on issues of trade, AGOA, PEPFAR, and other mutual beneficial programs.
Recapping the top story, the unemployment rate has decreased to 32.1% in the third quarter of 2024 from 33.5% in the second quarter. I am Ondalambana for SAFM News. Headlines at 2:30.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
My name's Michael Fontaine. I'm 16. I have difficulty paying attention in class, so I fell behind. That's why my parents moved me to UCT Online High School. I can't thank them enough. Their flexible learning means I can take classes when it suits me, so I get ahead and stay ahead. Visit uctonlinehighschool.com to learn more. Applications close 29 November 2024.
Eskom has made it easy for you to recode your meter. Customers must recode meters by the 24th of November 2024. All Eskom customers are reminded to recode their prepaid meters before then. That's the 24th of November. If your meter is not recoded, it will not accept legally bought prepaid electricity tokens. So Eskom has made this process easy for you. In fact, they've pre-coded all meters and they're now ready for you to recode your meter yourself. And to do this, you simply go to any Eskom approved electricity outlet and buy yourself an electricity credit token, and their teams are standing by to help.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Is it getting better? Or do you feel the same? Will it make it easier on you now? You got someone to blame. You say one love, one life, it's one need, and one love, get to share it. Please you, darling, you don't care for it. Mary, did I disappoint you or leave a bad taste in your mouth? You act like you never had love, and you want me to go without. Well, it's too late tonight to drag the past down into the light. We're one, but we're not the same. We get to carry each other, carry each other. Have you come here for forgiveness? Have you come to raise the dead? Have you come here to play Jesus to the lepers in your head? Well, did I ask too much? More than a lot. You gave me nothing, now it's all I got. We're one, but we're not the same. See, we had each other, then we do it again. You said love is a temple, love is a higher law. Love is a temple, love is a higher law. You asked for me to enter, but then you make me crawl, and I can't keep holding on to what you got, 'cause all you got is hurt. One love, one love, one life. You got to do what you should. One life with each other, sisters, have my brothers. One life, but we're not the same. We get to carry each other, carry each other.
You too, featuring Mary J. Blige on this one with One. Remember when when you two partnered with Apple once upon a time, and we bought the phones and they came preloaded with that red album, and it was all in aid for AIDS awareness, because they're big patrons of AIDS advocacy. I'm still the only person that's walking around with that U2 album on my phone, because I don't know how to remove it. So it's still there from time to time on my shuffle list. U2 just comes on not prompted by myself. So if you know how to remove it, please do send me a WhatsApp message because it's way over time. It's just gone 10 past 2 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM, leading the conversations that move you. And because it's Tuesday, we're still keeping on our health and wellness tip. We're having a conversation now around standing versus sitting, and new research challenges the common health believes in our quest to live longer and healthier lives. New medical research is continuously reshaping our understanding of what is truly of benefit to our well-being and what is not. And we've got Dr. Merlin Pashwana joining us now, senior lecturer at the University of Witwatersrand. How are you doing this afternoon, Doc?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Cannot complain at all. Firstly, maybe let's unpack let's unpack some of this study that's coming up from the University of Sydney that's bringing what they're saying are surprising revelations around perhaps the suggested benefits of standing.
Good afternoon to the listeners. So sitting is something that has been overlooked for some time. So people have always looked at physical activity as a research topic. But over the last decade, they started researching physical activity independently because it was always researched with physical activity. Because the narrative is that now, although you can go to the gym and exercise and get your 30 minutes of physical activity or cardiovascular physical activity, if you spend about 8 hours seated, it does not exclude you from cardiometabolic risk factors. So that's why sitting is now becoming a very big and a bad thing in terms of your health implications.
Wait, Doc, slow down a little bit so that we can be in track with you. So you are saying, what is the big word that you just used? If we spend a lot of time sitting, let's double back, take it back half a tick.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, over the years, we have always looked at physical activity and then researched on sedentary behavior or physical inactivity as a secondary outcome. Okay. But what they've recently found out is that although we can go to the gym and exercise and get about 30 minutes of physical activity, if we spend about 8 hours seated and not interrupting it, it does not exclude us from those diseases that we're running away from when we go to the gym. So you cannot look at improving physical activity and leave sedentary behavior alone. So it's a couple thing. We need to do them together.
Oh, so just because I go to the gym for my 1 hour a day and then come and sit at the office for 7 to 9 hours a day, that 7 to 9 hours a day could nullify my 1 hour of gym.
Yes, it does not reverse the health implications.
I see.
So we need to couple those things. We go to the gym, but during the day we still have our bouts of interrupted sitting time.
Okay, so then, what do we then, or how do we then begin to shape this conversation around sitting? What does the study and what did your colleagues find out? What were the other outcomes?
So what I did is my PhD was centered around addressing sedentary behavior. So we're looking at implementing tactical strategies in South African office-based workers. So what we found when we did some qualitative work, which is interviews and focus group discussions, we found that most of our participants, or most of South African employees, are also sitting over between 8 to 11 hours a day. And some of those hours are occupational. For occupational, it's ranging between 8 to 11. And recreation sitting, when you Netflix and chilling, also amount to about 5 hours. So we found that. And then we introduced a concept of sit-to-stand desks, where we advised the participants to interrupt their sitting time during work so they could sit and work, and they could also stand and work.
Okay.
So that's what we did initially, and we have published some preliminary data. What we also found is that what we're finding in South Africa is also what they're finding in Australia. It's also what they're finding in Sweden, because those two countries mainly have implemented the use of sit-to-stand desk in office workers.
Yeah. I mean, when you say that we are sitting occupationally 5 to 9 hours, I mean, that's to be expected, right? We all kind of feel like that's the norm of how we do things. And then you say we also then sit for 5 hours recreationally. So we're basically spending almost our entire day sitting when you think about the fact that outside of those hours we're sleeping, which is basically sitting.
Yeah, but if you're sleeping and not napping, but sleeping in deep sleep, that's good because you need to have at least your 7 to 9 hours of sleep. But the sitting during the day, that's something that has been socialized. Remember that this came with the advancement in technologies. It came with working from home. Back in the days, we used to be active occupants, and we used to move around, would go to attend meetings, etc. But now with all those things, we are bound to the desk, and it has been socialized that if you're working, you need to be glued in your desk, which is a social norm. The question is it true that if you're glued to your desk or you're in the office, you are being productive or working, or you can get the work done even if you're standing, or maybe you break the time. So it's just how it has been socialized.
Get you. And I definitely want to find out more about the benefits, for instance, of these standing desks. But before we go there, are there any other factors, perhaps like, whether when we're looking at physical activity levels, age, occupation, that also influence some of the risk or heighten some of the risks that are associated with sitting?
Yes, definitely. What we found out in our study, we looked at a very small sample. What we found out is that introducing the desk alone had some improvements in reducing the total sitting time on a day, and it also had some minor improvements in your BMI, your waist circumference, your blood pressure, and your cholesterol, right? But what we're seeing is that for us to have effective and long-term effect, we need to look at behavior change. So we need to look at your eating, we need to look at your sleeping, we need to look at including physical activity. Do you just interrupt sitting time by standing and sitting, or do you take breaks? Do you walk and see your friend during lunch? Do you walk for lunch? Do you pack your car further? All those other things that you can include. So they do affect. I mean, a person who's working, let's say, at the university, sitting during the day, an admin officer, and somebody who's working at the university and the landscaper, the occupations are very different. One is very active and the other one is very sedentary. So occupation plays a really big role in terms of accumulated or prolonged sitting time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As we're having this conversation, I'm now thinking, Uti, geez, just enjoy this whole day. How long have I been sitting? Thankfully for me, I took the steps up because the lifts weren't working. So at least that helps.
Say that the lift never works.
Don't say that, Doc. We're on the 6th floor. Don't say that. Let's look at these standing desks, right? The benefits of these. What are some of the benefits? And I presume you advocate for them in some sense.
I do advocate for them. My PhD was around that, but also, with research, there are also research gaps and things that you learn when you're conducting a study. So I've seen that they work, but in terms of behavior change and compliance, they are a big issue because for some participants they work, for some they don't work. It's like exercise. You might prefer to go to the gym, someone else might prefer to go hiking, someone might prefer to just run on the road. So it all comes down to preference and what you can use as an individual. But for me, standing desk alone, in terms of sustainable and long-term behavior change, what I've seen with the results from my PhD is that it's not sufficient. We need to add other pockets, maybe behavior change pockets where we add a part of physical activity where you can take maybe 10 minutes walk or 5 minutes walk every 2 hours or so, but just the standing desk alone, it's not sufficient. We have seen a drop in sitting time by about 20 minutes a day, We have seen improvements in BMI, reduction in BMI was circumference. But in terms of long-term, I'm not sure if it's sustainable to say that by just interrupting sitting time, by just using the decks, the sit-to-stand desk, one can stop exercising, one can stop doing all other things. I think it's a couple where you have to include all these other things. In terms of interrupting sitting time at work, I think they've shown improvements.
Yeah.
But there's a room for us to conduct more studies.
Absolutely. I mean, when we have this conversation, because half of our days are spent in a professional setting in the workplace, what are then the implications for workplace wellness? Because we're always talking around this, right? Like from different angles and perspectives, trying to get the sort of workplace balance and wellness embedded in all of our organizations. What would be the professional advice and the professional guidance for folks?
So, I mean, you're breaking a bit. I can't hear you. I'm not sure if you can. Okay, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? So I was saying, we're always talking about workplace wellness, right? So what would the implications be when it comes to that workplace wellness? And ultimately, what would the advice be? Like, how do we sort of foster more behavior change? You called it behavior change pockets. What are some of the things that we should be thinking about in our organizations?
I think that would range from you not using any money to you using a whole lot of money as an organization. I think the biggest thing, what I've seen when I was collecting the data, is education. If you provide people with health education and resources, that's the first thing. Your HR needs to have that information. I would still advocate for incorporating sit-to-stand desk, movement breaks, or just interrupting sitting time. Having friendly environments in the office, but those would come with money. You can also have health or wellness programs, challenges where they're incentivized. I mean, a lot of people go to the gym because they get something at the end of the week or something.
Of course.
You could have that. Just give people shirts or give someone a phone, a tablet, headphones, or whatever. But have those things as an organization. You can have teams. You can have a netball team, and you compete against your colleagues. You can have a soccer team. You can have any team. You can have paddle. You can have anything, as long as you're promoting like web-based and social-based activities. The most important thing is work, for me, healthy work-life balance. You don't expect me to respond to emails after 4 p.m. after knocking off. You don't expect me to do certain work stuff after knocking off. Then I won't be sitting in my room, in my office, waiting for an email to come through. I'll be able to plan my life. After knocking off, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna go to the park. I'm gonna go for all those things. And the other thing is, after eating, take a walk. There's a name that they call it, but take a fat walk after eating, and then the employers can also have on-site gyms, discounted gym memberships. They can schedule group activities and get virtual yoga classes, virtual gym classes, whatever. But those are some of the things that the employer can look at. It's not just a matter of one thing. We don't have enough money to buy a treadmill. You can just organize a work event and get people there, get them water and energy drinks and get them back.
So basically, from our entire conversation, it's about trying to strike that healthy balance, because sitting for too long is bad for you. Standing for too long is bad for you. So it's just a healthy little mix of how you get both in there.
Yeah, because if within an hour you can sit for 45 minutes and then just stand for 10 to 15 minutes and you strike the balance. You don't have to be standing for too long. You don't have to be sitting for too long. It's just the interruption that's needed, that transition that's needed.
Awesome. Well, listen, I will try. I will endeavor from, not from today, because we only have like half an hour left of the show, but maybe from tomorrow, I shall endeavor to try and do certain segments of the show standing whilst others seated. Well, yeah, listen, Aldrin used to stand throughout the whole show, and I sit throughout the whole show, and it's just an energies thing, you know. I sit with my feet dangling to the ground. Dr. Merling Pashwana, thank you so much for the time, Senior Lecturer at the University of Witwatersrand. And I'm pretty sure if given the time, he'll also tell me what's bad about my feet dangling off the ground and not really like on something. Yes, they're just kind of like just dangling there. It's just a preference thing. Anyway, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom. Reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Bridget Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
A very good afternoon to you, Sis B, and the listeners. Wow, I just learned something. I guess I always knew, but I felt like, you know, when you do exercise, you can get away with a lot of things. For example, at my workplace, I think we are on the 7th floor, right? So I would make sure that even when I'm from ground floor to 3rd floor, I would take lifts, right? Because I'll be telling myself, anyway, I do exercise, I go to gym. But from what I'm hearing right now, you know, taking stairs as opposed to lifts does help you a great deal, even if you do go to gym. So yeah, I just learned something. Thanks.
Listen, we live to learn on this show, right? Every single day. Even I learn a little something. Bertha takes the steps up, whether the lift is working or not working. She will take and if she's forgotten something downstairs, she'll go back down with the steps and come right back up with the steps. It can never be me. Anyway, Ondela is standing by with the news headlines.
Thank you, Bridget. In the news headlines, Water and Sanitation Minister Phemi Majodina has described Gauteng's water supply disruptions, among others, the growing population. PwC senior economist Kandi Bai says the informal sector is seeing an increase in employment as more people open small businesses due to the high unemployment rate. And the city of Tshwane says it is working on replacing the 33 bus operators dismissed for taking part in an unprotected strike in May this year. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hi everyone, I go by the name of Anilekwe. Here are some tips or ways on how to deal with exam pressure. As a student, dealing with exam pressure can be overwhelming, but I have learned some strategies to stay calm and focused. Firstly, I create a study plan breaking down my revision into manageable chunks. I prioritize the most challenging topics and allocate sufficient time for each subject. Regular breaks help me recharge so I can take short walks and practice deep breathing exercises. I also connect with friends and family to share concern and receive support. Additionally, I remind myself that exams are not the sole definition of my worth and focus on learning, not just grades. On exam days, I arrive early feeling prepared and confident and take some few visualize success. Lastly, I maintain a positive mindset knowing that I have done the best and that results are not the only measure of my abilities. Here are some key tips of how you can study. Create a study plan, take regular breaks, connect with others, focus on learning, not just grades, practice realization techniques, stay positive and confident, stay calm, focused, you will exceed these exams.
Greetings everyone, I am Ave Kuma and today I want to talk about 2 yet powerful tools that help me reduce exam stress. Those tools are ASMR and setting our time wisely. ASMR, or Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, involves calming sounds like whispers or tapping, which can help reduce anxiety and improve focus. Listening to ASMR relaxes my mind, making it easier for me to concentrate and calm the pre-exam nerves. The second tool is managing my time wisely. By creating a study schedule and breaking tasks into smaller chunks, I avoid last-minute cramming and feel more in control. Time management also allows for regular breaks, helping my brain stay refreshed. By combining ASMR and for relaxation and good time management, I can reduce exam pressure and approach my studies with confidence.
Hi everyone, my name is Tkabelenko Simalapani. When I start to feel nervous about exams, I try to remind myself that I have worked hard during the year and that I still have time to prepare well for the exam. To calm myself down, I listen to music and take naps. I also talk to my older sister. I take 15 minutes break in between 45-minute study sessions. To deal with exam pressure, I make sure to manage my time well in order to be able to study efficiently. I also make sure I stay positive at all times.
Hello, my name is Dimbara Mother. What do I do when I relax my mind from studying? I give myself 1 hour to 1.5 hours to go outside, get fresh air, eat, listen to music, calm down, and rest for a bit. I prioritize reading and relaxing during exam time.
Greetings to you all. My name is Lorraine Moyo. The things I do to relax my mind, but it's still exam period, so I must not forget that, is to play on my PlayStation with my brother, or I play alone. I read my books from my school library, and I play soccer with my brother. Yes, there are things I don't do in the middle of exams. For example, I don't play on my phone during exams because it distracts me too much from studying and I only think about it instead of studying. So my parents take it away because they think that I'll actually fail my exams. How I prioritize during exams is I must always study when I get the chance to, not to miss any work, and if I do miss any work, I must catch up on it so that I can be able to study from it. I hope the best of those who are going to be write exams. Good luck, and to all the people who are listening to me right now, have a very lovely day. Thank you.
Hello friends, I hope you are having a great Tuesday. Today I want to talk about a topic that many of you are familiar with. The pressure of exams. It's completely normal to feel a bit anxious before a big test, but there are effective ways to manage the stress and keep your mind clear. Remember, you're not alone in this. Many students experience the same feelings. Now let's explore some useful tips to help make exam time easier and less overwhelming. To start, let's discuss the importance of planning. Before your exam, create a study schedule. Divide the material you need to cover into small, manageable sections. By studying a little bit each day, You can avoid feeling swamped by too much information at once. Having a plan gives you a sense of control, which can significantly lower your stress levels. Next up is time management. Try to avoid cramming at last minute, as this can heighten your anxiety. Instead, dedicate a small amount of time each day to studying, even if it's just 30 minutes. This keeps the material fresh in your mind and allows you to learn at a pace that feels comfortable. And remember to take breaks during study sessions to recharge. Staying active is another great way to cope with exam pressure. Exercise boosts blood flow to the brain, enhancing your focus and clarity when it's time to study. So don't forget to incorporate some movement and have a little fun. Getting enough sleep is crucial as well. When you're well rested, your brain functions better, making it easier to recall information. Avoid staying up late to cram, as this will leave you feeling tired and stressed the next day. A good night's sleep will help you feel refreshed, focused, and ready to perform your best. Lastly, maintain a positive mindset and be kind to yourself. Everyone makes mistakes, and it's perfectly fine if things don't go exactly as planned. Concentrate on doing your best instead of striving for perfection. Trust in your abilities and keep in mind that exams are merely a step in your educational path. With proper preparation, a relaxed mindset, and an optimistic outlook, you'll manage exam stress wonderfully.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
EFC 119 is live this Thursday with a stellar main event featuring interim champion Terrence the Black Panther Balelo and Edson the Trapdoor Spider Machavani vying for the genuine 24-carat flyweight title, whilst the co-main event will usher in a new era. South Africa's Dana Van Wyk and Nigeria's Juliet Chukwu battle it out for the 135-pound golden buckle. EFC 119 from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Did you know the National Department of Transport has allocated 7.7 billion rand in bus subsidies for the 2024-25 financial year, which is a 4.5 increase from the last year. Through the taxi recapitalization program, over 83,700 old taxis have been scrapped, with 5.9 billion rand paid to operators. Since 2001, the Shova Galula bicycle program has distributed 122,000 bicycles to learners, with 32,000 delivered during the current period.
Doing more together. This message is brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply. The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Alrighty, as we prepare to wrap up this afternoon's conversations, we are chatting now to Dr. Lisa Street, who's the co-founder of Ajuda. And we're having a conversation around empowering parents to build lifelong health records for their children from birth. And of course, we'll find out more about this partnership between Ajuda, a personal digital health vault, and the National Metabolomics platform. But this is why we have the doctors, so they can teach us all the great, fabulous terminology. How are you doing, Dr. Lisa?
Hi, how are you doing? So thank you for having me on your show this afternoon.
Thank you for taking the time. And I think maybe firstly, let's talk about just the importance of parents building those lifelong health records. And when we talk about building lifelong health records, what exactly are we talking about here? What kind of information and data is to be captured?
So, we believe that during a child's life journey, there are records from the very start when the baby is born of their birth card. It's known in different ways. Some people call it a vaccination card. Some people call it road to health card. There's different words and terminologies being used. But that information from birth and everything that happens in the child's life in terms of their hearing screenings or their eye tests, every time they visit the doctor for a checkup, well or sick, if they have a vaccination, all these records are really important because to ultimately view a child holistically, we need to, as doctors, know what they've had done, what they haven't had done. And so it's really up to the parents to manage and coordinate this because they go to different providers for different needs. Mm-hmm. So that's why we decided to create a Judo to make it easy for parents to manage this information and have it somewhere that's secure and that they are fully in control of, and that there's no one else that's peeking in at their records because it really should be for them and them only.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us about Ajuda. What kind of platform is it? And of course, the sort of technical features and how it speaks to safeguarding and archiving all of this information.
Absolutely. So Ajuda actually means help in Portuguese because, when you become a doctor and you're little, you always tell people you grow up, you want to be a doctor one day to help people. So that's why we use a simple Portuguese word. And on the application, there are two main features. There's a vault and there's a one-time form. The vault basically has different folders where one can upload the records themselves. So the folders include a birth folder, a vaccination folder, a health record, a health visits folder, screening because you're not sick when you have a screening, but it's preventative, and your medication folder, and a growth chart for our little ones to be tracked and monitored. So we've got various folders to organize it neatly so that we're not trying to jumble around and find all the information, all on top of each other. And in those folders, one can just label it. You can call it whatever you want. And you just add a date, and you can take a photo or upload an email that was sent to you by a provider, upload a script, upload a referral letter to another practitioner. Now, these are papers that we get when we walk out the doctor's rooms. We misplace, or we hand in a script. And when you go to another doctor because your child is not getting better, you think, oh gosh, what medication was it on? I thought I'd remember, and you now have handed in the script. But if you take a photo beforehand, you can just show them on your app, look, I had this script that I handed into the pharmacy last week, my baby's still not better. That helps that practitioner then to choose the next type of medication, or maybe decide, I need to investigate. This child has had good medicine and something's still wrong, so now we need to do some tests or blood work. So it's up to the parents now to say, currently, it's too fragmented. It's difficult for healthcare providers to find all the information. Even as providers, we need to look at different apps that are currently available. There's 3 or 4 different laboratory apps. And to go onto each one to find information is time-consuming for providers, and you've got to see the next patient. So if the parent is organized and has everything there, we can really maximize the time in our consultation, and that's what we want to do. And then the second part is the one-time form. And what that is basically, it's that form that you always have to complete when you arrive to the doctor's room. Yeah. And you fill out all that information over and over again. We've said that's enough of that. Let's fill it out once and go to the provider with that information. You can email it ahead of time or just print it and take it to the provider. And you have all of your medical aid information if you're on a medical aid. If you're not, it's all your other personal information. And then on top of that, all your health history, so that you're not having to remember it when you're in front of the doctor and you're nervous or you're stressed or your baby's screaming and you're distracted. So the one-time form, we are working actively with healthcare providers to accept so that they know about it. So that's what we're doing at the moment. But really, it's up to parents, to individuals, to take control of their health. The time has arrived. We have so many apps for so many things. So that here we provided you one to just help you with your healthcare management.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking, Lisa, I'm thinking to myself, geez, gosh, I feel as if we all need this because, you're making the example of the script. And I thought, how many times have I gone to my doctor, the same doctor, and he'll say, by the way, how much of that did I prescribe you? And I'll go, I don't know. You should know.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I always think for little kids, they're developing and growing, so things change. And we always think, the doctor must this or the doctor must that, but they often don't. It's just that they're not provided with the full picture. And so you're not misdiagnosing, you're just only diagnosing what you can with information you've been provided with at that moment in time.
Absolutely. Talk to us about the security and privacy of of health data on this app, because a lot of parents who are listening will go, data is such a sensitive thing, and we're all on so many apps, and do we need another app? But we see the use, as you've explained to us, of just consolidating all of this information. But security and privacy becomes an important thing when you're dealing with medical records.
Absolutely, and that is the one thing that is our top priority. We've made sure that we are hosted on a cloud that follows all GDPR compliance standards. We are compliant with all the regulatory standards. We are all the information is encrypted, and we have two-factor authentication. So we are making sure all the security measures are in place. We've recently at Ajuda hired our Chief Technology Officer, who was working previously with 5 million records where he was previously. So he's used to all the data security measures that we need to follow. And, I always say, when you look at where your records are currently, are they secure? Because we're making sure that this app is secure. But if emails have security, but even so, on an email, things can go wrong and hacked. And getting medical information or reports or records sent to you via email or on WhatsApp, we might be sharing information, but it's secure. I'm not saying WhatsApp is not secure, but it's vulnerable anywhere in tech. But if you're housing it and we're taking all the regulatory standards, it's better than just lying on your desk at home that someone can walk, or even in a doctor's room. Records are very need to be secure, and so that's what we've made sure we do. That's our top priority.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: I love systems that work on the back end, right? And I say this all the time with the 50 million rewards cards that are busy there in my wallet, and I go, but is there no possible way that my medical aid that likes to partner with everybody can just load all of these providers on the back end so that I just have one card? And so my ask to you is Ajuda sort of equipping itself, whether now or in the future, where you can go to your respective doctor and then you just say to them, here's my profile on Ajuda, or just here's the link, and they can upload all the information for you.
Absolutely. So that's our next step, is really to say, once we have the practitioners on board, we want to allow them their practitioner portal, or the medical aides to have a portal. But that needs to be managed by you as the consumer. Okay. So we never want to make that decision on your behalf. So we will never allow access to any of the providers or the medical aides or any of the third parties without your consent as the individual and without you knowing it at that moment in time. So, for example, how we're going to build the next steps of Ajuda is to say, if you walk into Dr. X, you will switch them on to show them that information, and when you leave, you can switch them off so that you don't need to share it anymore. But it's completely up to you how much you want to share, when you want to share it. And that's why I always say with tech, what you're not going to tell the doctor over the table. When you walk into the room and you tell them things verbally, you shouldn't be able to see, that doctor shouldn't see on a computer screen and you not know about it.
Yeah.
So you only should share what you are comfortable with sharing when you know you are sharing it. And that is why that's why we've built it this way, where the consumer, you, the individual, have full control. You're the first person. And anyone you share that information with is at your discretion.
Absolutely. Talk to us about the partnership. So I alluded at the beginning that you've partnered with you say it so that I don't lambast that second word.
No, but we're very excited. It's with the Center for Human Metabolomics.
Metabolomics.
metabolomics. And what they do is it's a very specialized laboratory in the Northwest University that tests metabolic disorders.
Okay.
And our partnership, we're very excited because it's the first test you could possibly do on a baby, and you do it between 1 and 3 days of life.
Okay.
And what's happening in countries like the UK and all developed countries is that this is a standard test that is performed as part of their newborn screening protocols. So every single baby, the moms don't even know it's getting done. They get encouraged, we're going to do this blood test and make sure you don't have a metabolic disorder. Unfortunately, in South Africa, we don't have those standard protocols in place. So it's up to the parents and the provider, like the pediatrician or the obstetrician, to tell you about it, so that you do this test on your baby, because it identifies potentially the conditions it identifies are detrimental. They can cause death in some more severe ones. And so for a parent that's expecting, it gives you that peace of mind that any of those very scary metabolic conditions, once you've done the test, we can at least treat it early or identify it early before we have all the complications. And so at Ajuda, we really much, and as a pediatrician, I really want to promote proactive healthcare management. We need international standards in this country, and that's what Ajuda is about. And that's why we're so excited about this partnership with Ilse and Prof. Forster and their team.
Yeah. I mean, that's a conversation for us to have on another day, right? Because now you've just sparked my interest about this metabolomics test, and I'm wondering, okay, so a really significant test that's done between 1 and 3 days, and why is it not done, earlier on in pregnancy and all the rest? But that's a conversation for a completely different day. And I guess that's a sort of a game changer for Ajuda, because it also speaks to the credibility of other institutions within the healthcare sector to partner with y'all. I'm presuming they deal with even far more sensitive information, as it pertains to their patients.
Absolutely. I mean, they're dealing with blood results, so they will only use us if we have, like we were talking about, security. We need to make sure all our standards are in place so that they can transfer this information onto the patient's Ajuda app on their profile. So it's wonderful that we've had this partnership, and also it speaks to our goal in improving the international standards in South Africa. We're bringing them here, making sure that we are credible. And you will see all the partnerships we are now going to be doing is really follow the child's life journey, to say to parents, we are here to hold your hand as your child grows. Everything you should be doing, Ajuda will do it with you, so that you know what your next step should be, what your best next step should be.
Absolutely. Dr. Lisa Street, thank you so much for the time. And she's the co-founder of Ajuda. And of course, you can check out the platform and let us know how it works for you in helping your family consolidate and just keep all of that very sensitive medical data for all of the children in the household. We are wrapping up the show in our final 5 minutes. Geez, time flies on the show. We thought we'd double back to some of your comments around some of our earlier conversations. You sent through some of your thoughts on WhatsApp. So let's get to playing those in our final moments.
Hello, Bridget. You are always giving us thought-provoking themes regarding today's theme. My input is that, first of all, in order for us to teach kids boundaries, they must first know their identity. If you give kids a global identity, then you cannot give them boundaries. But when kids understand that they don't belong to the government, but they belong to their families, which belong to clans and belong to cultures, then it will be easy to teach kids boundaries, because boundaries that are global cannot be taught to anybody, because all the other boundaries from other cultures are always encroaching on the boundaries that we are trying to teach your kids. So let us as parents reclaim our kids so that we can teach them boundaries according to culture and boundaries according to clan. Boundaries are very, very important, but global, you cannot have boundaries, because once you talk of a globe, then there is something that is boundaryless. Thank you.
Hi, this is Bridget and the listeners. On the topic of diabetes, remember I got diagnosed last year, December, and strangely enough, I was told to change my diet and eat healthy, and I had to force the doctor to discharge me because the food that I was given in the hospital wasn't healthy. So I really wish that they can also talk about the food that is being given to patients with diabetes in different government hospitals, and also talk about the fact that it's also reversible, because at this point in time, I changed my diet and I'm eating healthy and such a way that I was discharged from the medication from the hospital. I don't take any medication anymore. I don't take any insulin or metformin, nothing at all. I don't take any cholesterol medication at all. So please do talk about the fact that it's also possible to reverse it if you change your diet. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of our medical professionals and our dietitians that stop by on various occasions of the show oftentimes talk about that a lot of things can be reversed with lifestyle changes and you being dedicated and diligent to doing the right thing, right? So good on you for doing that, because nothing worse than trying to kick a sugar addiction. And sugars come, by the way, in all kinds of different things, not just the sugar that you know. That is it from my end. We will see you guys. Oh, no, tomorrow I'm not in. I will see you on Thursday. Have yourself a great day. Ashraf is standing by to be in conversation with you for the remainder of the afternoon. Inshallah, God willing, we'll see each other on Thursday.
Our role must be to seek to build a better world.
SAFM invites you to our annual public lecture, delivered by former Minister Dr. Naledi Pandor. The theme for the lecture is 30 Years of South African Freedom. Reimagining South Africa's democracy, achievements, challenges, and the road ahead in protecting our democratic gains. The lecture will take place on the 21st of November 2024 at the Birchwood Hotel and Conference Center. Secure your seat by emailing us at info@safm.co.za.
Today, I'm part of seeking to build a better South Africa.
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig